Today we will be learning about the rational unified process, right? The RUP. So this RUP is basically developed to develop, which is based on the issues of the waterfall model, and this rational unified process will guide you to the effective usage of the UML, right? So this particular development process is developed by the rational corporation where this UML is founded. Right? So the rational unified process is some sort of like advanced method where it basically address the challenges or the issues of the waterfall models, right? So these are the waterfall model challenges, and this RUP or the rational unified process is address these challenges. So and we have iterative or the incremental development. So iterative incremental development is some sort of cyclic or the rounded software development process which is developed in order to respond to the challenges or the issues of the waterfall model, right? So iterative and incremental development is the essential part or the core parts of rational unified process, extreme programming, and various other agile software development frameworks, right? So usually this iterative incremental development will follow plan, do, check, act for the PDCA, right? So usually each iteration will have 4 phases, right? So the phases will be the inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. Whatever iteration will goes with these 4 phases, right? So the time-boxed iterations. So the work is undertaken within an iteration, right? So the iteration plan will define what are the artifacts or what are the components or the products that has to be delivered, and different roles and activities. So these iterations is clearly measurable. We can measure well, right? So each iteration contains at least one deliverable of that iteration, and there is some sort of activities that we have to do by the team members, right? So we can measure the progress of each iteration by different milestone. For example, we can have milestones as the deliverables of each and every iteration. And when you do the RUP or the rational development, rational unified process, you have to follow 6 best practices, right? So these 6 best practices will cover the modern software development best practices, right? So these are namely: develop the software iteratively, manage requirements, use component-based architectures, visually model the software, verify the software quality, control changes to the software, etc. So when it comes to developing the software iteratively, it means you have to go through with multiple iterations, right? So it will increase the understanding of the problem domain with the refinements, right? So this incremental, iterative development will grow an effective solution step by step, right? So it will grow from the features, requirements, etc. And also this by developing the software in a different multiple iteration, it will reduce the risk of the projects, right? So this by having this best practice, we can actually address high risk items in each and every stage or the iteration, right? Each and every iteration will produce some sort of executable or runnable, deliverable or release, right? So in that case, users also will give will have the involvement or the interaction with the each and every incremental releases, and they will give the feedback. So in that case, you can actually reduce the quality aspect, low quality aspect or the quality risk of the project by addressing the continuous user feedback at each and every iteration. And then we have the managed requirements. So then we have the managed requirements. So in the managed requirement, so you have to manage your requirements. So so the functionality and consideration of project you have to manage, and then different decisions that is taken, and these decisions can be tracked to the RUP documentations, and also the different business requirements we can capture well and can communicate. So you have to use the component-based architecture. It means that the development should be done by component-based, right? So this by using the components-based architecture, so we have set of components of our in our software repository, and we will use the components as we need. Right? The component will be either a smaller module or subsystem that is giving a function or activity. And again, as a best practice, we have to visually model the software, right? So we can actually graphically illustrate in order to capture the structural and the behavioral architecture. So we have like gone to use cases, class diagrams, functional sequence, etc. So these are basically covering these structural architectures and behavioral architectures. Right? So when it comes to the RUP, so the graphical building block or the graphical or the visual model will be the unified modeling or the UML diagrams. Right? So this, the advantage of visually modeling the system, right? Software. So it basically support the communication with different stakeholders, and it will illustrate how the system structure and how the behavior is happening of the system, right? And it will maintain the consistency between the design and its implementation. And so, and then verify the software quality. So when it comes to the verify the software quality, right? So the rational unified process will assist in the planning, design, implementation, execution, and evaluation of different test types, right? So for each and every iteration, the quality assessment or the quality or the what we call testing is there, and based on that, so we can actually verify the software quality for each and every iteration. Control changes to software, and this is the ability to manage the changes. So the ability to manage the changes a very essential compulsory part in a software development. So if you can't manage the change or the control the change, that is ending up with a disaster, right? So when we do the change management, so the changes should be you are checking whether these changes are acceptable or not, and also you are tracking the changes. So RUP will describe how to control, track, and monitor the changes. So basically the change management or the controlling the changes of the software, right? So by controlling the changes or the managing the changes of the software will secure a very good will create or establish a secured working environment for the developer, right? And so we can actually establish the secure workspaces for the developers by providing the isolation from the isolation from other changes in the other workspaces, right? So if you are familiar with the SVM, GitHub, etc., Bitbuckets, etc. So these are helping you to do the control management, right? So, so let's assume we have two developers. So there is one change in the developer A, right? But that is not happened in the developer B. So in that case, if these two people workspaces are isolated, so that means we can actually create a secured workspace for each and every developer, right? Okay. And then when it comes to the two dimensions of the RUP or the rational unified process, so we have the workflow and time. So the time is the horizontal axis. It will like, it can be either cycle, phases, iterations, milestones, whatever, right? And when it comes to the workflows, it's representing the vertical axis where the different business activity or the development or whatever activity in the process, right? So these workflows can be either activities, artifacts, workers, or and even the workflows. So we will discuss what are those. And as I mentioned you before, RUP has four different phases, right? So each and every iteration will go through these four phases and produce some sort of executable product or a deliverable or an artifact, right? So the four phases will have for the four phases will be the inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. So this is the what we call a larger image, right? So we have the time, we have the workflows here. So the business modeling, requirement, analysis and design, implementation, test, deployment. So if you are following even the waterfall, the SDLC, right? So you can list it down in here. And whatever the step should be goes with inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. So we will be, and also at the end of this iteration or the transitions phase, whatever the step should be give some sort of deliverable or a product, right? That can be either document, maybe diagrams, or maybe a presentation, maybe a code, maybe a product, etc. Maybe a hardware device, etc. Right? So when it comes to static structure of RUP, so in there we have four primary elements, right? So these will be described who, how, what, and when. So the workers will be the who, activities will be the how, artifacts the what, and workflows the when. Right? So when it comes to workers, so the workers are the responsible individuals. And what are the responsible individuals? Sometimes it can be either group or even individuals working together as a team. Right? And then we have the activities. An activity of a specific worker is a unit of work that an individual in that role may be asked to perform. It means, so we can have different workers, and the activities implies the actions that can done by a specific type of worker, right? And then we have, for example, asset activities. So if we take our worker as the project manager, right? So he will plan the iteration. The system analysis will find the use cases and the actors. Design reviewer will review the design. Performance tester will do the performance testing, etc. And then we have the artifacts. So artifacts is like some sort of object or deliverable. So that is could be some sort of piece of information that is produced, modified, or used by a process, right? So usually artifacts are tangible products of the project. We can measure, estimate, etc. Examples of artifacts will be if you're taking a model, so it will be the use case model or the design model. A model element will be element with model. For example, when it comes to the class diagram, it will be class. And when it comes to the use case model, it can be a use case, etc. And when it comes to the document, it can be SRS, business case, etc. And source codes. These are also artifacts. And then we have the workflows, right? So the workflows will be a sequence of activities that is produces a result of observable value. So now we will discuss about each and every 4 phases, and we will cover the goals, estimation, and then activities and artifacts, right? So the goal of the inception is nothing but we will inspect, or we try to analyze our software, and by this inception we will establish the limitation of the project, the software scope, right? And estimations for the inception will be overall cost, schedule, potential risk, etc. And then we have a set of activities and artifacts that we have to accomplish for the inception phase, right? The activities will be formulating the scope of project, planning and preparing the business case, synthesizing a candidate architecture, preparing the environment for the project. So the artifacts will be vision, glossary, business case, software development plan, use case model, etc. In the elaboration phase, so the goals will be, it will develop a detail about different architectures, requirements, etc. Right? So in the elaboration phase, it will ensure the stability of the architecture requirements and plans. It will verify the baseline architecture, and it will establish a supporting environment to be able, and also it establish a baseline architecture derived from the addressing the architectural significant scenarios, right? So, and in some cases, it will create or produce prototypes, right? These are the goals of elaboration. And then we have the activities. So under the elaboration, we will do defining, validating the baseline architecture, and we will refine the vision, and we will refine the architecture and selecting components, etc. So the artifacts will be either prototypes, design model, data model, software architecture document, testing mechanisms, etc. So you can actually read these details, and then you can have the get the what is this software architecture document, etc. So then we have the construction. So in the construction, the goals will be we have to minimize the development cost by the optimizing resources and avoiding the unnecessary scrap and rework, and achieving the quality and sorry, achieving the useful versions, and complete the analysis, design, development, and testing of all required functionalities, etc. Well, in the construction, what we are doing is actually development case, right? So when it comes to the activities of the construction, right? Resource management, control and process optimization, complete component development and testing against the defined evaluation criteria, assessment of evaluation of product releases against the acceptance criteria for the version, for the vision. So the artifacts will be the entire system, right? The system, but it's not the final system. Still, it has a one test cycle, which is done by the actual clients before the actual use, right? The beta, it is like ready to use, do the beta testing, and different training materials, testing results, and iteration artifacts, etc. And in the goals of the transition will be doing the beta testing to validate the new system, and training the users and maintaining staff. And if you are going for a marketing, so you have to do the marketing aspect. And even so if there is any other issues that is come up from the beta testing, so you have to tuning up the system by doing the bug fixing, enhancements, etc. And then the artifacts will be the final product, and along with the final product you will have release note, installation artifacts, in some cases end user support materials, video tutorials, etc. And the testing results also there will be. So the benefits of RUP, the Traditional Unified Process, it will give, since RUP is an iterative incremental development, it will use the benefits of an iterative approach. And since like inside of the rational unified process, as there is a risk-driven component, or the risk-driven component, so it will reduce or mitigate the risk at the as soon as possible, right? And the changes are more manageable. And since it is like in the RUP, as it is saying to follow the component based architecture, so it will increase the reusability. And the project team can learn along the way. It's because like there is like different artifacts and different workflows, activities and goals that each and every project team have to do. And so in that, by involving with these each and every phase, and by practicing the best practices of the RUP, the project team can learn many things, and also they can be a very effective team. And overall quality will be enhanced by using this RUP.